Hello and greetings, everyone. I hope you are all well. Good morning, because the time this video is being played is in the morning. I am really missing to have been with you. I really wanted to be part of this workshop. However, commitments would not allow me, and that is what led me to requesting Abdi that we can do this in this format. And I hope we find it acceptable. My name is Boniface Harrison. I'm currently the Executive Director at Moem Action Posts, a social enterprise whose mission is to inspire action on social issues through empowering people with knowledge. That is what we do. And so, true to that mandate, I believe that in this session, we'll be able to get the inspiration to take action towards climate governance. Abdi had briefed me about the topic of discussion on climate governance. And this is a very important conversation, because when we are making efforts towards a more safer and sustainable future, it is important for us to also have a conversation about how do we regulate, what policies do we have, what laws do we have, because I normally believe that sustainable change can only be achieved if we also have supporting laws and regulations. And so the topic of climate governance is very relevant and very important, because even if we are down in the grassroots trying to do our advocacy, trying to plant our trees, if we don't have laws that support what we do, then we might be challenged in creating sustainable solutions in the community. And so where are we coming from? Where are we coming from in terms of climate governance? Yeah, and now we need to go a little bit back into history. In the 1980s, in the 1990s, when even most of us were not born. And Kenya was still experiencing some of the worst droughts in history. And rivers were drying up, livestock were dying, and families were still struggling to survive. Back then, climate change wasn't a widely discussed issue. Yeah, it was just seen as bad weather and something people had to endure. And today, we know better, because we understand that human activity, policy decisions, and global actions all contribute to the climate crisis that we endure from time to time. Unlike in the past, today, young people have a place at the table. And I'll try to demonstrate how young people would be said to have a place at the table, unlike in the previous years. Because Kenyan youth have not always been active in climate governance. For a very long time, decision-making was left to politicians, the scientists, and even international organizations. But over the years, things have changed. And let me give you an example. In 2009, during the Copenhagen Climate Summit, young people from worldwide began pushing for stronger climate commitments. And in Kenya, we've also seen young people advocating for environmental and policy changes. For example, in 2022, there is a group that took even the government to court for not taking into consideration the climate policies in a certain department. Then also in 2010, when we adopted the Kenyan constitution, something that was very significant happened at that time. The government now recognizes public participation, as a core principle in governance. And this is an open door for young people to also engage directly in policy making. Yeah. So fast forward to 2015, we get the Paris Agreement. It is signed, and Kenya youth movements, like the organizations that you're running yourselves, are born. And social media also becomes a powerful tool for advocacy. And suddenly, young people are not just spectators, they have influence in what kind of policies we get. So today, Kenyan youth are leading climate policy formulation and climate governance initiatives through a few ways. For example, they are driving policy advocacy. Yeah, young people are directly engaged in county and national climate action plans. For example, the Climate Change Act of 2016 mandates public participation, meaning that youth can influence policies before they become law. So let's take advantage of these openings that the law has provided for us as young people. When public participations are called, they are not just for the older generation to go and contribute. We also need to be in those platforms. So we are also, as young people, leading climate governance through innovating climate solutions, from green energy startups to sustainable farming initiatives. Young people are creating solutions. For example, in places like Isiolo, in Kitui, young farmers are promoting climate resilient crops like sorghum, mung beans, beekeeping. And actually currently at Mem Action Post, we are organizing a climate smart agripreneurs workshop, which will be virtual, also to demonstrate that youth are leveraging technology in climate initiatives. So it's a workshop that is targeting young people to equip them with knowledge and skills about how they can do agribusiness in their areas, even when the climate is still changing. And so if you're interested in the workshop, you can give your details to Abdi so that we can have you also considered. So using digital platforms for awareness, the example I've just given of the initiative we are planning is actually a perfect example. Yeah, the initiative is coming up on 2nd of May. So social media has become a place for us to amplify our voices. For example, we have Twitter campaigns, yeah, we have YouTube documentaries, and Instagram activism. Those all are pushing for climate narratives that hold our leaders accountable. And youth are also taking legal action. Yeah, as I mentioned to you before, in 2022, there's a group of young people who went to court and they sued the government. Yeah, on the basis that the government had failed to implement effective climate policies. Yeah, this shows that youth are not just talking; they are actually taking action. So there are young people, for example, you saw during the Gen Z protest when some young lawyers came up to interpret the law for us who do not understand the jargon in law. And so young people are taking actually legal actions against in the activities that are harming the environment. And also young people are leading the way in community engagement. Yeah, we have tree planting initiatives, yeah, where young people are engaging the communities on the need for climate action and what climate change means to their daily lives. They are also educating them on the importance and different ways of conservation, like movements like the Plant Your Age campaign. Those are some of the initiatives that are mobilizing young people towards creating tangible impact. And so there are some challenges that the young people are facing, because despite all these achievements, there is still more that needs to be done to ensure that young people are contributing meaningfully to the journey of climate governance. So young people often struggle with limited finances. We have that challenge, and especially it's coming when the geopolitics are becoming something, and most organizations are even experiencing cuts in funding, because when we need to do these initiatives sustainably, then we have to be facilitated through money. But when we cannot access money, then it becomes a challenge. So those are some of the challenges: lack of access to decision makers. Yeah, when we have ideas and we try much to access people who can help us push them, and they are not accessible to us. Yeah, we also have issues like youth policies that are not youth friendly. For example, recently we were having a conversation with some colleagues, and they were looking at how, and this is an allegation I'm making. I have not actually read the act and confirmed, so you can read the act with me, the Climate Change Act. Yeah, that it doesn't include the office or the role of a youth representative who was there before. So we were having that conversation just recently, and if that is true, that the role of a youth representative has been removed from an act of parliament, then that is taking steps backward. We need to be taking steps forward. So some policies are set up that are not friendly to the welfare of the young people. But how do we overcome these challenges? Because our discussion today is how we can contribute towards a better climate governance. And there are some ways that we can use as young people to ensure that our voices are heard and ensure that our opinions are considered in national decision making. And one of the ways is definitely, as we are doing right now, is to use technology. If we can't be heard in boardrooms, we can make noise online. Social media is definitely a powerful tool for advocacy. And it's not just noise, because when we say things on social media, they are seen, yeah, they are heard, they are felt. So do not underestimate your influence when you say important things online. Of course, we also advocate for responsible use of technology. And that is why I would encourage all of us today, as a way to contribute towards better climate governance, let us leverage our social media platforms to tag leaders responsible, to mobilize fellow youth, to have discussions on spaces, to ensure that our voice is heard. And even when we have these meetings, we can curate memoranda and ensure that the collective deliberations that were agreed on during those meetings are presented to the relevant authorities. So that is one best way of ensuring that our voices are heard, and even for fellow young people to understand some of these policies, because, like, for example, there's an ongoing bill for carbon credits. Yeah, I just saw it online, and I tried to read it, but I'm doing it all alone. So I was asking some few friends, can we have a webinar to discuss about the carbon credits bill? Because carbon credits is something, we might think that it is not happening a lot in Kenya, but it's something in places like Isiolo. It's something in places like this forest where the Ogiek were being chased away from. So it is an issue that we need to, first of all, as climate advocates, as climate activists, we need to understand before we move towards calling people to take a certain direction of action. So that is important. Using social media platforms, technology, artificial intelligence is now able to collate information for us in a faster way, and that means we will be using technology for good. The other way is through engaging in civic education. We need to understand climate policies, and I've just mentioned that. We need to understand climate policies to help us challenge poor governance and push for accountability. The only way we can be able to hold leaders accountable is if we understand their roles and mandate. That is a very simple way. I think so. Because we cannot hold a person accountable whose role we do not know. Yeah? So it's important. Let us create communities where we can analyze these bills, and Mem Action Post is actually committed to us doing that. And I believe in this audience, there could be people we have already worked with, and I'm looking forward to us continuing to work together, because our core work is to ensure that we inspire action on social issues through empowering people with knowledge. So that is something we are open to doing. If you would like us to collaborate in creating awareness, in dissecting these bills and laws, because when you talk about climate governance, you're talking about laws and policies. And also a recognition of KIPRA, the Kenya Institute for Public Policy Research and Analysis. That is an organization that, for example, has opened up opportunities for some young people to understand how to curate policy briefs and generally how governance works, what language works in government, and what kind of existing laws do we have. So we need also action from more government institutions to include the young people, to ensure that young people are actually contributing, because things like policy briefs, those are things young people can do. And when young people are doing these things, then they tend to understand policies more, because policies are not only the ones that are instructing people not to litter or not to do everything. We have policies that are governing carbon credits, policies that are governing climate smart agriculture, policies that are governing green jobs. We have all that. Then we have the climate change, the Climate Change Act. We have all those policies. So we need more government institutions and even civil society organizations, private sector, to join efforts together and ensure that we create more spaces for young people to be able to understand policies and disseminate that knowledge to fellow young people. So the future of Kenya's climate governance is in our hands. And if we do nothing, we risk living in a country where droughts are a norm, floods wipe out communities, and food insecurity becomes worse. I normally say we might not be able to stop climate change, but then we must be able to take action when climate changes. Yeah? Because if we take action, if we participate in climate dialogues, innovate solutions, and all leaders accountable, we can create a greener and more sustainable Kenya. Because sometimes it looks like climate change is very far, because your home has not been stricken by hunger. But I can tell you, I come from Kitui myself, and rains have not been doing very good to us lately. Yeah. So those are things we need to do. What do we need to do? The weather is changing. What kind of policies do we need to recommend to the government, to the county governments, to ensure that they put in place to ensure that the communities are sensitized? For example, let me give you an example as I close. I need to not take too long. Let me give you an example of the mung beans bill. So, our senator, the senator for Kitui County, proceeded to the Senate and presented a bill about mung beans, and it was dated 2022, and it was being discussed this year. So I got a chance to go through it when it was being debated, and honestly, to be very honest, I did not find it very relevant to the needs of the people, because now this is a separate example that I would like to give you about climate governance and some of the ways that you can explore like we did. So I read the bill, he posted it, he followed up and everything, and I found it very shallow, because some of the problems that we face when we grow mung beans ni ndengu. Yeah, you know ndengu, the ones that in the streets they are boiled, and then if you have some chapati, you can also, we are in the era of chapati. Yeah, so if you have chapati, you go and find someone has already boiled them and is selling them. They are greenish in color. So that is ndengu. So we grow a lot of ndengu in areas of Kitui, Isiolo, Taita Taveta, Makueni, even Machakos. And one of the biggest challenges that we've been facing is underpricing of these products, because sometimes when farmers produce them in large numbers, you find that they're being bought at 50 shillings. A kg of ndengu is being sold at 50 kgs from the farmer. But when that kg of ndengu comes to Nairobi, it's sold at around 250 shillings, 200. So that is 5 times, yeah, the cost of acquiring it from the farmer. And you know, farmers, most of them are also stricken by poverty, yeah. So people are desperate to just sell the few kgs they have, and then they get the money. So that is one of the biggest problems, because what we face is not even a challenge with the market. Sometimes it is a challenge with brokers. We have seen areas like the central region where we have cooperatives. We have seen even in Western where people are growing sugarcane. And one of the things that I was thinking, and I shared with some of colleagues from Kitui, was why don't we have cooperatives for ndengu farmers? Farmers can know that they have a minimum guaranteed price that they can sell their commodities. Because when climate changes, ndengu still thrives and tries to do a good job with growing and yielding. So climate change has pushed us towards relying on ndengu. And then this ndengu is disregarded. Yeah, the bill didn't have provisions for things like sensitization, clearly outlined after which frequency, who is supposed to do it. Yeah, you know, those are the things that we need to see in policies, clarity of implementation. And so I looked at it, I called a few friends and told them, you guys, I need you to read this thing. Yeah, read it and tell me what kind of things you can see. I told them what I've seen, they read it, and we agreed that this bill is too shallow, honestly. What the bill was focusing on too much was that we need to establish a regulatory authority. We need to do some registration of farmers. I was like, when we register these farmers, what do we do? What is the business with having a tally of farmers and we have no plan for them? Someone would argue that there is a plan, definitely. Which plan? Which has not been put down in policy. If you have a plan to train farmers, to sensitize them with better seeds or crop pesticides, put it in the bill. Let us see everything outlined. Because when you put some things I just mentioned, just a small mention, and then so we put it, we agreed, and let me just give you an example of what we did. So after discussion, we said, okay, what do? We agreed, let's do a memorandum, let's do a petition. So we didn't even meet. We called each other from Kitui. We got a person from Makueni, yeah, from Machakos, and from Taita Taveta. We were supposed to get a guy from Isiolo, but he was not reachable. So we created a Google document where we started populating our petition, what we want, everything. I still have the petition. I can share with you an example. And we proceeded to the clerk of the National Assembly. When we knew the bill will be debated the next week, we proceeded to the clerk and told the clerk, we have seen something and we would like our voice to be heard regarding this bill. So we presented the bill to the clerk of the National Assembly and requested that it be given attention. So we went back. I don't know. It could be coincidence. It could be God's intervention. But fortunately, when the bill was discussed in Parliament, it was quashed. We were very happy. We called each other and celebrated. Because why do we need to have a bill that does not address the issues of the citizens? And I would encourage you all to take that direction. When you see something is not right, you may not protest and cross a road. You may not strip yourself naked. You may not do all manner of crazy things, as one would say. But through your creativity, through your knowledge, through your networks, you don't need all the big wigs in the climate space or in the governance space. You just need few good-willed fellow young people. And you proceed to take action. Yeah, because action yields results. Maybe if we could not have submitted that petition, the outcome would be different. I'm not saying that our petition is the one that led to the bill to be quashed, but we contributed towards that step. So that is my story to encourage you that no action is small, every effort counts. I know I should have stopped way earlier, but I thank you very much, really, and wish you all the very best in your governance advocacy journey. I hope you get charged enough to be concerned about the laws that we have, the kind of change that we need to have in them, what the laws mean for people, yeah, and your role as a young person towards ensuring that the laws that we have reflect the aspirations of the people. Because when laws are passed, never be lied to that laws are not implemented. The day they get implemented is when people start experiencing the repercussions. So that is a brief. I wish I could have shared a lot more, but I know because the conversation is virtual, you might start to get bored, and I would not like that to happen. I would like to encourage you to continue with the spirit. Congratulations, Abdi, for putting up this, and thank you for the invite and for accepting my virtual presentation. I really appreciate that. I did not want to fail you entirely, but you can count on my support in the initiatives that you are doing and the good work that you are doing, and everyone who has joined us today. I wish you all the very best, and feel free to engage with our social media platforms for more engagement. If you have questions, you can put them to, can give them to Abdi. I will get them and I will respond. I will respond to those questions in digital ways, because we can always engage. Yeah, you can feel free to engage with us on social media platforms. Social media, myself, I am Boniface Harrison across all the social media platforms. On Twitter, I am waharrisonb. Instagram, boniface.waharrison. LinkedIn, Boniface Harrison. On Facebook, Boniface Harrison. On where else? Everywhere else, Boniface Harrison. For Moem Action posts, just Moem Action posts. On website, you can search on Google. Actually, when you search on Google, you'll get all our links. Yeah, Moem Action posts. MUEMACTION posts. All the very best. Thank you very much, and I hope you found this presentation relevant.